Now, in a shocking event, 3 people, including farm owners, were arrested in Limpopo province in South Africa following an incident where they allegedly killed 2 black women. Now, it is reported that on the 17th of August, Magato, Zimbabwean national Lucia Ndlovu, and her husband went to an overwrought farm to harvest rotten products dumped by a dairy merchant. The trio allegedly shot them and allegedly proceeded to remove their bodies before feeding them to pigs. The trio has since appeared in court. The matter was postponed to August 30th for profiling. They're facing charges of attempted murder and possession of unlicensed firearm and ammunition. To discuss this, we're joined by SAFTU Spokesperson Trevor Shaku. He joins us from Gauteng, South Africa. Trevor, thank you so much for joining us. This is indeed a shocking development. What was your first reaction to the news of this horrific crime, and how do you believe that this reflects the current state of racial tensions in South Africa?
Look, our reaction to this horrific news was that South Africa is firstly still steeped in the racial tensions, which are a legacy of apartheid and colonialism. But more so, based on this incident itself, we actually are utterly disgusted by what has happened, which, in our view, is equals to an inhumane act by the racist individuals who were owning that particular farm. Olivia, who actually is the owner of the farm and who would have led the attack on the poor people who, of course, were wandering around looking for food. But to attack people because they're wandering around looking for food is unjustifiable. But secondly, it shows the utter racist attitude that they have and harbor, which they direct against the poor black working class people in this country. And we think that it has to be condemned. But more so, what it reveals is that these issues continue to plague our country, because not long ago, I mean, if you remember, there would have been a number of other incidences where farm owners who are Afrikaner, white, are continuously attacking black people, maybe because they are saying they are trespassing on their farms whenever they hunt or where they are fishing. And we would have seen other incidences which were more treacherous, including as treacherous as this one, that young people would have been shot when they were hunting, young people would have been shot when they were fishing, and their bodies would have been dumped in dams and all of that. So this actually highlights the continuous problems we continue to face of race relations in our country.
Now, we've seen the systemic issues of racism and violence faced by Black South Africans, particularly women. What does this further buttress what we're seeing? I mean, racism is one thing, but the issue of violence as well faced by women in South Africa. What's your opinion on that?
Look, race in this country does not choose between genders. In fact, most of the people who would have been attacked in these farms have been men. Most of them would have been men in the past. Of course, farm owners do attack their employees, and they attack them for vile reasons. And those reasons could range from merely abuse at the farms because they're employees, and such particular farmers feel like a person would have arrived late at work, they would abuse them. A person would be abused because had not worked up to the point where the farmer would have the target which the farmer would have set. And whenever you interact with farm workers, mostly you'll hear these attacks. So the racist attitudes of particularly the Afrikaner farmers is very worrying and concerning, because what we have is a continuous relationship of farm workers who are white, Afrikaner, and farm workers who are black and colored, which means that the relations will continue to replicate these kinds of violence for as long as these racist Afrikaners holds that kind of power. So the power rests in their economic occupation, which is that they are capitalist industrialist farmers, and therefore they can use that particular privilege to abuse the vulnerable workers who are black and colored, who constantly have to go to these farms to look for jobs, but also those who are living in these farm areas have to continuously try to hunt to mitigate hunger because of joblessness that continues to plague our country. So beyond this, we also, of course, have problems of farm workers who are being evicted from these farms by the farm workers, by the farm owners themselves. And most of these are motivated by nothing other than the fact that the farm owners hate and do not want to reside and share one living space with their farm workers. This is not to paint all the Afrikaner farmers with one paint brush, but it is to highlight that there are those racist Afrikaner farmers who continuously exhibit high levels of racial attitudes, or rather racist attitude towards black working class people.
All right, thank you so much, SAFTU spokesperson Trevor Shaku, for joining us to discuss this, joining us from Gauteng, South Africa. We're going to look forward to seeing how this whole thing plays out, because it really is a horrific story. But thank you so much once again for joining us.